Hi, everyone, and welcome to Tailwind Session 1 of their 3-part training. In this session, we're going to learn where to go for help, how to get your database set up, and access to configuration, and also how to create some master files. Great, let's get that going. Let me just turn this camera off and we'll get the class going here. Okay, so this is the main page of the application when you log in. This is valuable to you because it gives you access to the support articles and videos. We'll cover those off in just a minute, everyone. If you ever navigate away from that main screen and need to get back there, simply click the Tailwind logo in the top left-hand corner, and it will bring you back here. So the first thing we're going to talk about in today's class is how to access help from your Tailwind staff, support staff. Right here under the lady with the microphone is a link to the Customer Success and Support Center. Every article you need to learn how to use our software is here. Some very important ones for you to check out today would be the Getting Started Guide, watching an administration overview, watching an operations overview. All of the documents are here. You can expand when you're ready to get into operations. Simply expand to see a complete list of articles that are available to you. So this Customer Success and Support Center is very important to you. While these training sessions will teach you the basics, the software is very robust and in-depth, can do a lot for your business. So it might seem a little overwhelming at the beginning. We don't want you to get overwhelmed, everyone. We want you to access your learning articles so you can learn the software from the ground up. Coming back to the application, everyone, we're also going to talk about this little bubble down in the bottom. This is your ability to strike up a conversation with any member on our support team. You simply send us a message. Type your question here. Any question you have, any concern, we're more than happy to help you. Support is available to you from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific time. Also, you can see we have an email address populated right here, as well as our phone number. I will tell you the quickest way to get support is through this in-app chat, though. So make good use of that in-app chat, everyone. Great, now we're going to get into the actual application, and I'll kind of show you what's going on here. This is a navigation bar on the left-hand side. It allows you to navigate through the master records, your operations area, accounts receivable, accounts payable, some tools that are very useful in the application as well. We'll cover all of these off through our 3-day training. Today, we will be looking at the master records. Across the top of the application, right next to who you're logged in as, that's going to show the logged in user, is a question mark. This is another way to get some help. Access the question mark. You can go to your help documentation here, training videos if you want to watch this session after you've attended it. TeamViewer Connect is a screen sharing tool that we use when we spend one-on-one time with you, or you book a private training session, or you need some help from the support team. We'll ask you to access that TeamViewer Connect. Now this gear icon, there's lots going on under the hood here in Tailwind. The configuration area is an area we're going to visit today, but let's talk briefly about user management. So when you signed up for a subscription to our software, someone at your company was made the admin user, and it is the admin user only that has access to user management. Clicking on it will show the admin user how many how high your subscription count is. Your registered users will show here. Now, my database has already been set up. For you, you will probably only see yourself as a registered user. As you create your personnel records, whether they are sales reps, dispatchers, order takers, any of those people that work for you in your office, can be a personnel as well as company drivers, owner-operator drivers. They will all show here, and this will give you the ability to create accounts for your users. You must first make the personnel record, and I'm going to show you how to do that at the end of today's class. Also in the gear icon, that was user management, we have this great configuration area. So I want to run through the configuration area with you, but I also want to caveat with the fact that this is an area you're going to do some work now to set up your database. It's also an area that you're going to come back and visit. Throughout this configuration area is there's the ability to set default settings that will allow the software to mirror your specific operations. So don't forget about this configuration area. Make sure you come back and visit it. So we'll begin right here in company information today. Here under general information is where your branch record will be listed. It's going to be blank. We don't know your address, your phone number, your SCAC code. This is now your ability to simply use the yellow edit button, open that branch record, and you can now complete all the details. These details will flow through to headers on your invoices, your load confirmations, your trip manifests, all the written documents that are in the application. You will want your address to show. Let me take you out for a quick minute. I'm going to print an invoice out of the application. So here we can see my order number. It's an order 1114, happens to be for my customer Acme. I'm moving some stuff from 3M to Matheson. I can print an invoice, of course. Now on this invoice, we want our logo and our own company information. You can take care of that right there where we were just visiting. Let's go back in there. Gear icon, configuration, general information, company information, general information gets you into your branch records. Yellow edit button will now allow you to populate your legal name, your address, install a logo to the application. All of the information can go in here so that then your documents will be printed with your return address. The insurance tab is very valuable for asset-based trucking companies. Now, we provide software to both freight brokers as well as asset-based trucking companies. Asset-based trucking companies will always have a certificate of insurance. Freight brokers might have a surety bond. This is where you can detail that insurance information. And when you do, you can then flow that insurance information right through to your owner-operators. Now, you will have to create a vendor record for your insurance provider. You can do that right here by using the plus sign. We'll also learn today how to create our vendor records as well. So you will want to complete this branch record information. As well, you have the ability to have multiple branches in the software. Perhaps you're an asset-based trucking company that might have a small brokerage division, or you're a freight brokerage company that has multiple offices in different jurisdictions. If you want to track revenue and expenses separately for those offices or divisions, you can do so through the creation of branches. So here's an example for you. I have an asset-based trucking company that I call Feel the Wind Transportation. I have a brokerage division that I call Feel the Wind Brokerage. I can create these and I can assign every record to a specific branch, allowing me to run reports to see details of how a specific branch might be doing. As well, under company information, you're going to see an item called reminders. This is the ability to set reminders for all those compliance details. Let me take you out to a couple of records here so you can understand what I'm talking about. On personnel records, company drivers, owner-operator drivers, you have to track compliance details like hazmat certificates, medical exams, drug tests, the driver's license, travel documents, fast cards, nexus cards, all of that information you can track and you can have the software remind you when compliance items are expiring. As well, on your equipment records, you also have to track compliance details, like that motor vehicle decal inspection that's on the truck has to be renewed. You can track the expiry of those things. So that's handled again, gear icon, configuration, reminders. Now, of course, you first have to have your personnel record set. Here in this pull down will be a list of every personnel record you create. This is simply assigning the person that you want to handle that reminder. And you can set a lead time. If you want them notified 4 weeks before due date, 4 days, whatever that situation might be. So you have personnel reminders as well as equipment reminders. Now, moving on through the configuration menu, let's talk about lookup tables. So throughout the application, there are various pull downs. I'm going to take you over to my operations again and show you an example. Sorry, I have to turn some statuses on. I was obviously testing our statuses. So let me get my statuses turned back on there. So for example, on orders, give it just a minute, everyone. That's my internet at work for you. It's going to take a minute just to load up here. Great, there it is. So on orders, you of course have the ability to track. Let me just open up any old order here. So you have the ability to track your customer. You have the ability to track your commodity. These are all contained in pull downs. When I create an order, and don't worry too much about this, everyone, we're going to learn about creating orders in tomorrow's class. But when I create an order, here's a pull down of all my customers. Let me just set a quick customer here. I want to get through to the commodity. So when I detail what I'm picking up, where it picks up, and where it delivers to, I have pull downs that I can use for, wow, what's going on there? Oh, there it is. Okay. I have pull downs that I can use so that I don't have to data enter this information all the time. So pull downs in various areas are simply shortcuts to you to choose the equipment, to choose the commodity, things like that. These are all contained in that lookup table area. So let's go back to the configuration and lookup tables. So first of all, commodity types. Yours will be blank. These are commodities I've added into the application. When you want to add your commodities, you don't have to. You can type them every time you create an order. But if you want to add your commodities, you simply put the commodity that you move and click add, and then it will be available in that pull down. So you can populate pull downs for commodity types, node subjects, customer prospect stages, task subjects, bill of lading classes, and personnel departments. Now, custom fields is something that's going to become very useful to you. We've tried to think of every piece of information you need to track, but we always miss something for sure. Every transportation company and every freight brokerage company is different, does things differently, wants to track different items. So for some examples here, you have up to 4 custom or user-defined fields on every record in the application. So for example, on orders, here's an example. I want to track the tonnage of an order. If I'm a bulk carrier and I move aggregate or anything like that, of course I move it by tonnage, not by units. If I'm an intermodal hauler, I want to make sure I can track the container number on the load. Where do I have some other examples? Let's have a look here. Shipments. Again, if I'm a lumber hauler, I want to know the number of board feet I'm moving. While our shipment records will allow you to track the commodity, the weight, the size of it, it doesn't track the number of board feet. So creating a custom field will allow me to have a field on my shipment record where I can track that number of board feet. So custom fields are very important to you, everyone. If while you're using the software, you say to yourself, oh, I wish I could track this piece of information, remember that you can through the creation of a custom field. Equipment types. Well, we've got a lot of equipment types in this database, way too many for anyone, but we've populated what we think is every piece of transportation equipment known to mankind. They are available to you in a pull down when you're creating your orders. You can lessen the pull down by simply deleting them if you need to. Or if there is a type of equipment that you move and you don't have it listed here, simply put it here. Now I know we don't have Conestogas listed in our application. So if you have Conestogas, you can track a 48-foot Conestoga, a 53-foot Conestoga, simply add it in and the application will show it in the pull down for you when you're choosing the equipment to move the load. We've also got states and provinces. We are a software that is useful to North American clients. So we've populated the 48 continental states, 10 Canadian provinces, 3 Canadian territories. They're all here for you. And again, in a pull down. You can leave them alone. You don't have to do anything. But if you simply want to remove them out of the pull down, you can do so. If you're an American hauler and you don't come to Canada, you can throw the Canadian provinces in the trash if needed. It will simply reduce the pull downs. As well as states and provinces, we've got 3 continental countries for you. So again, not hurting anything being here. You don't go to Mexico, you can get rid of it out of your pull down by simply putting it in the trash. Moving on to operations. Operations is an area you're going to come back to visit after you've learned the behavior of the software. I will point out some settings here in tomorrow's class that will be useful for you, but this is an area you'll come back to visit. There's various settings through here, like on your customers. If you don't want to, like if you want to set an account manager, or always link locations to customers. There's lots of settings throughout here that will become very useful to you. You want to set your next invoice number, can be done right here. So investigate operations on your own, have a look through there. Now in financial, there are some setup items. There's also some items you're going to come back and visit after you've learned the software. Areas that you're going to want to take care of now. Let's talk about those. Accounts. This is the ability for you to set up your checking accounts that you pay your vendors out of, your Comdata accounts, your credit card accounts, any account that you use to receive monies in from your customers or pay your vendors from. You will want to set that up. We've populated your database with a basic checking CAD and checking USD. You can leave those accounts named that's no problem. But if you want to identify, maybe you happen to bank at Bank of America, you can simply call it what your bank account actually is. And that will be reflected when you are receiving payments from your customers or paying your vendors. Also in financial, let's talk for a brief moment about tax types so I can remove some confusion here. Our American clients are probably saying right now, tax types, what do I need tax types for? Well, we all know there is no tax on freight in the US. There is, however, tax on freight in Canada, and we provide software to both American and Canadian trucking and freight brokerage companies. So this is simply a list of all the various taxes that are applicable in the provinces of Canada. So if you're a Canadian customer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're an American customer, you can ignore the tax types completely. We've got fuel surcharge rates in here, the ability to add fuel surcharge schedules to specific customers. These are more in-depth things that I don't go into in basic training, but you will find all the learning document that you need here. So if you need information on things like fuel surcharge, simply type the information and the software is going to show you every related article that might speak to you about fuel surcharges. Back to the configuration area, everyone. So there's fuel surcharges, there's exchange rates, the ability to download, fetch the latest rates. Those do come in from the Bank of Canada because it's typically Canadian customers that we see converting US dollars to Canadian. We've got classes. Classes is simply the ability to class your revenue and expense lines. So if you want to associate specific revenue or expenses to a specific tractor, can be handled through classes. This is most useful for those customers that sync their data to QuickBooks. Now I want to talk to you briefly about revenue and expense items. And I'm going to preface it with revenue and expense items are probably one of the more complicated things you're going to come up against in Tailwind. So make sure you access our article on that. Let me take you back to the main page here. So revenue and expense items. You've got your revenue and expense items. You've got also working with automatic payables that you're going to learn about in tomorrow's class. But this is a very valuable article for you to reread after you've done the class today. But let me explain to you what's going on here. So revenue items are those items that you use to invoice your customer for the movement of freight. We've populated your database with a basic freight charge for you, so you can build orders where you're charging a freight charge. But again, every trucking company and freight brokerage company is different, and we all have accessorials, extra drop charges, lumper service fees, roll-off, tarp charges. Any of those accessorials, you can create them right here. You simply hit create revenue item and populate what you want it to say on the invoice. Know that these will print on the invoice, but also see that there are two fields here for you. So the name is how you're going to recognize it. The description is what's going to print on the invoice to your customer. So those can be different if needed. Now, if you're just charging a set amount every time, you can set that set amount. Maybe I charge $75 for every tarp charge that I do. I can set it there, and when using this on an order, the software is going to set that $75. However, if your accessorial charges change, then leave it at 0, and that's going to give you the ability to populate that amount when creating the order. So you might want to get a few revenue items created. Now, again, a little bit more in-depth item that I don't go into in great detail in basic training is the ability to create a revenue item tied to a shipment detail. This becomes valuable for aggregate haulers, bulk haulers, lumber haulers, by hundredweight. So when you create your revenue items, you have the ability to tie the revenue item through to any of these items. Like if you invoice your customer by the hundredweight, you will populate the charge per hundredweight that you want, and the software will go to work for you. When you use this item, it's going to look at the weight on the order, divide it by 100, of course, to get that hundredweight, and then multiply it out by the unit value. Now, to talk to you about expense items here, so revenue items are what you invoice your customer. You can get started in the application without creating any of these because we have created a basic freight charge for you. Expense items will recognize your expenses and will give you the ability to do cost analysis, which is very important for us. So you can create all those expense items that might be needed in your operations. Things like extra drop pay, fuel transaction fees. All of these items can be created as you learn the software and use automatic payables. Let me talk to you about automatic payables for a brief moment. So the software has the ability to set an auto payable on a company driver or an owner operator, a commission sales rep, a commission dispatcher. The expense item must first be created. Let me show you some examples. Here's an example of a driver that I pay by the mile. I pay 50 cents per mile. So I call it what I'm going to recognize the expense item by. The description is what's going to print on the driver pay settlement statement. I tie it to the actual miles, and I want the software to pay 50 cents per mile. Once I create that expense item and save it, it will be in my list of expense items, and I have a second part that I have to take care of. I'll show you that in just a second. Let's look at some other examples. I happen to hire sales reps. I'm a brokerage firm. I hire sales reps that I want to pay a commission for every load they bring to the table for me. So here I've set up an expense item that I can use. 10% commission on the revenue. You can pay commission on revenue or profit. Talk to you about profit in just a moment. And the description again is what's going to show on the pay settlement statement to my commission sales rep. The percentage I want to pay tied to the revenue. And when I tie items to the revenue, then I get all of my revenue items showing up here. So that's why it's important to create your revenue items first, your freight charges, your accessorials, so that they will be listed here when you're creating your expense items. Switching the toggle on for any item you want to share in the revenue with your sales rep will allow the software to go to work for you. Let's look at another example. Very often we'll incentivize our owner operators by revenue splitting. Here's a great example of the revenue split. So again, 75% revenue split, that's how I'm going to recognize the charge type. The description, what prints on the pay settlement statement. The percentage, I share 75% of the revenue with my owner operators. Tied to the revenue, all of the items I want to share in the revenue with my owner operator. Now, very often we pay our owner operators 100% of fuel surcharges. You will set up a separate auto payable for that. Let me look at a couple of examples. Oh yeah, let's look at an example by profit. Because very often we incentivize our commission sales rep by profit. So if we look at this one, we can see it's set up in profit. It's 20. And instead of it being revenue, I choose the profit. Because what happens then is the software gives you your revenue items that you want to share with the sales rep, allows you to show the payable items that you want to deduct from the revenue in order to realize that profit level. And then the software will go to work for you and create that payable for your commission sales rep. Now, as I mentioned, once you create these expense items, you've got a second place that you've got to take care of them, and that's on your master records. Again, we're going to learn how to create those master records today. So on personnel records, here's Georgia Green, happens to be a driver in my database. I've got her set as a company driver, and I've got an automatic payable section. Let me throw this in the garbage for you and show you. So the automatic payable section is now empty. I can add an auto payable, and you've got two fields to pay attention to, everyone. They're marked with a red asterisk. If she is the driver on a dispatch, I want to pay her 50 cents per mile. Now, since this auto payable is on her personnel record, every time Georgia Green is chosen as the driver on a dispatch, the software will pay her 50 cents per mile for the miles driven. Let's look at another example. Let's look at John, a commission sales rep. Freight brokerage companies very often incentivize their sales staff by commission. So here I'm showing John's getting 15% commission on profit. Let's throw that in the garbage. All I have to do is add auto payable. In this pull down will be, what situation do I want to pay him in? Well, when he's the sales rep on an order. and what do I want to pay him? So in this pull down will be all of those expense items that you create and set up. Choosing the one, I want to pay him 15% on the profit. Add it in and it's done. The software will take care of that. Every time John happens to be set as the sales rep on an order, he will be paid this commission. For owner operators, they're a vendor to you. Let me find an owner operator here. Monty. Okay, I'm going to go searching for Monty. So owner operator records get, well, that's interesting. I wonder what I did with Monty's record. Sorry, my demo database does get into a mess sometimes, everyone. Let me find a different owner operator for us here that we can use. Oh, there's Monty right there. Terrific. Okay, so owner operators will be a vendor record for you. And I'll go over creating these records shortly. But here we can see an auto payable section. Going to throw that one in the garbage for us so you can see how easy it is to add it on. When I add an auto payable, auto add if. Well, when he's the tractor owner on a dispatch, owner operators always bring tractors to the table for you. So I can now choose tractor owner on the dispatch, and I want to pay him 75% revenue split. Now, every time Monty's tractor is chosen on a dispatch, the software will take care of that for me. So I really want to come back to our learning center, that customer success and support center, everyone. And I want to point out that we do have an article on auto payables. Simply type auto payables in your search line. Come on, application. Again, that's my internet, everyone. There you go. There's a very comprehensive article for you on setting up auto payables. And don't forget that getting started guide right there, everyone. It's going to run through the very first steps for you. Great, let's go back to the application now and continue on in our configuration area. So we just left off working on revenue items and expense items. There's some payable settings here that are going to help you age your carrier invoices, things like that. That's an area you're going to come back to visit once you've learned the behavior of the application. Moving on to documents. So documents can be really important to you. You have, here's an invoice. So on the invoice, you have a notice area. You have a tagline area. Let me go and print a load confirmation for us so you can see what that looks like. Because everyone wants their own terms and conditions on load confirmations, for example. And I'm going to show you where you can create these. Here is a dispatch that happens to be dispatched to a brokered carrier. So you can dispatch to company equipment, owner operator equipment, or your carrier partners in the case of brokering a load. So we can see here that it's dispatched to my carrier partner, 123 Transport. When I print the load confirmation, remember the load confirmation is the legal binding contract that gets set up between yourself and the carrier you've hired to move the job. You're going to see loading terms and conditions. Everybody wants their own loading terms and conditions in there. You're going to see, you're going to see a tagline. You can customize these. Let's go back to that configuration area again, everyone, so I can show you. I wanted you to see the examples. So in your configuration area here under documents, document fields is the ability for you to customize. Let's look at some specific examples. The contract terms, these are the terms and conditions that are noted on the bottom of your load confirmation. You want to change them? Simply start typing over top of it and put your own loading terms and conditions in there. Any detail you want the carrier to know about how they should be doing the job for your company. Another example would be our invoice notice. This is the notice that is right on, where's the invoice? There's the invoice. There's the notice that's right on the invoice. You can change it, make it whatever you want. So throughout here, you're going to see notices and terms, BOL certify, and BOL terms are legalese taken directly from transportation law. So I'm not sure you want to change those. You can if you want to, but my suggestion would be that you just leave those. But all of the other ones you can change, adjust to be whatever you want. Anywhere you see the word advertisement, simply a tagline. So you'll note on my invoice, I have a tagline that says, "Thank you for choosing Feel the Wind Transportation." And there it is right there. So you can put in, "Thank you for your business." If you have a tagline, "We move your goods," whatever that might be, you can throw it in wherever you see the word advertisement. So document fields is the ability for you to brand your software even closer to your company, make it personalized. Also under documents is the ability to set up email templates. So if you want your email to say the same thing every time you send out an invoice, you can put the verbiage right here that you want to be included in the invoice. You'll find some smart tags over here on the right. So smart tags is simply the ability to set your subject line. If you wanted to have the customer reference number, for example, all you have to do is grab that tagline and put it in here and paste. So now my subject line is going to have, "Please look at invoice number with the customer reference number." So email templates are set up for all of these items in the application. You do not have to set a template, but this is simply the ability to set the template if that's what you want to do, so that every time you send out an invoice, it will have this verbiage on it. Moving on, I don't go through integrations in basic training. I'm going to briefly explain some things to you here, though. So load boards. This is the ability to set up your load posting sites. If you make use of any of those posting sites on the internet these days, 123 Load Board, DAT, Internet Truck Stop, you can set up the integrations to them. We have integrations built with DAT, Internet Truck Stop, 123 Load Board, and Nextload. So you can integrate your application with multiple different, let me get back in here, load boards. Okay, we'll get back here. So you can integrate your software with those load boards. MacroPoint, if you're a MacroPoint customer, Easy Check-in, Border Connect for carriers that go cross-border, Trucker Tools, Smart Capacity. You have webhooks. You can build your own integrations as well. The software has a completely open API. And you have portals. So customer and carrier portals. This is the ability for your customer to log into the customer portal and track their own loads. A carrier portal where your carriers can print their own load confirmations, upload proofs of delivery seamlessly into your database for you once they've delivered a load. Again, I don't go into much detail on those items in basic training. So that covers off the configuration area, everyone. And we're now going to move out to those master records and learn all about those. So over here under master records is the ability to create master records. Master records are of course needed in order to move forward with the application. If you can download your master records into an Excel spreadsheet, then we can upload them for you. Taking you back out to that learning center, everyone. And I'm going to talk to you about importing your data. So again, right here, clicking on importing your data, here's all the templates for master records. You want us to import your customers? All you have to do is download their customer list into an Excel spreadsheet, upload our template, copy and paste the various columns into the correct column in our template, and then send that template off to us, and we will be able to import your customers into your database for you. All the instructions are here as to how to fill out those templates for you. And back to the application. So let's run through master records together. Customers are simply those people that you move freight for, everyone. So I'm going to open up a customer and then we'll create one together. So it shows all the details that you need, who the customer is, who your contacts are, the credit. Credit's very important for customers. Let's go and create one together, everyone, so you can see how easy it is. At the top of every list, no matter where you go in the application, at the top of every list is going to be a create button. So clicking the create button will now allow me to create a master record for a customer. I should have thought of a customer name. Let's call it Jones Manufacturing. So you can put in their internal name. Maybe I can just call it Jones if I want. The legal name, maybe they happen to be Inc. or LTD or LLC, whatever that situation might be. The legal name can be different. It is the legal name that will print on the invoice to your customer. You can assign default account reps and sales reps. Here will be the personnel that you create in your personnel. So you can assign individual people that work for your company as account reps and sales reps. You can set customers to specific branches if you want. You can tell the software that this customer requires a reference number. So very often when we take loads from our customers, they give you a PO or a reference number, and they want that on the invoice when you send it to them. If you switch this toggle on, no user in your company will be able to create an order for this customer without populating the customer reference number. You can select the way the customer prefers to get their emails. If you're printing, stuffing in an envelope and mailing to them, then you simply print it. If this customer will allow you to email their invoices, choose email in the transmit method and make sure you set the email address here, billing@jones.com, whatever that email address might be. Over here is the ability for you to categorize your customer. Now, while American clients will set most of their customers simply to a merchant or a manufacturer, this can be very useful for our Canadian clients, everyone. Brokers, carriers, exporters are tax-exempt customers in Canada. So setting your customer to a broker or a carrier, the software is going to know that you do not need to charge GST or HST on those loads. So you can categorize your customers. You can track the minimum cargo and liability insurance that your customer requires. You can set brokers for this customer. You can track the address, of course. So simply populating the address will allow the software to, as you detail this information, the software will start narrowing down and will show you where on a related Google map where this customer resides. So you simply detail the information here. If the customer has a physical address, but wants you to send their invoices to a separate billing address, switch this toggle and simply populate the billing address, the different billing address if necessary. The last thing to setting a customer is credit. We want the software to keep us safe and keep an eye on our credit and not let us overexpose to our customers. So you will set your customer to approved with an approval date, whatever that is, the number of days you're willing to accept exposure for this customer. So if your terms are 7 days, populate it there. If your terms are 21 days, whatever your terms are, those terms will print on the invoice to your customer. So we'll set 20 days and I'm going to set $25,000. Here's the limit. That's the high credit I'm willing to accept exposure for. The minute this customer goes over that limit, no one will be able to create another order in the software for that customer. If you have a signed credit agreement, switch this toggle. Maybe you pulled a D&B, maybe you check trade references. Anything you do can be populated here, and then you simply create the record. The software will populate the record on the screen for you, allowing you now to create those contacts. We always want to know the specific people we deal with at the company. So maybe I talk to Susan there and she happens to be on the order desk. I can populate her phone number, her email, anything at all. And those contacts will appear here. So you can have multiple contacts showing for your customers. Notes are very valuable, and notes are included in every record in the software. While you can have notes detailing anything, maybe you talk to this customer and you want to detail that phone call, you can also have an electronically scanned document attached to it. So if you want that signed credit application attached right to the customer record, go ahead, do that. It'll be there for you and readily available. Now, I want to show you one thing about customer records that will become very valuable to you as you use the application. So I'm going to go out to a customer that I do work for. So here, Acme, do a ton of work for Acme. So the customer has been set up. I've got my available credit here. All of that information is here. All of my contacts are listed. This button is going to show you all historical orders that have been created for this customer. So this becomes really valuable. Clicking on it allows the software to show me every load I've ever done for Acme Industries. Now I can see I've done 71 loads for them. So that's a lot of data to look through. I can filter this data. Maybe, example here, maybe Acme calls me and says, Lynda, you know, you did a load for me once between Seattle and Fresno. I can put that filtering criteria in right here, say go, and the software is going to filter out all that historical data and return only 5 loads that match the criteria, picking up in Seattle and delivering to Fresno. I now get to see what I charge the customer. I also have the ability to open the order and copy it out to a new one, which will save me that data entry time, of course. So I just want you to remember about those rate histories because they are so very valuable to you. It's the ability for you to access historical data, historical rates, great for rate negotiations for your customers. Let's move on to vendor records, everyone. So while customers are those people that you move freight for, vendors are companies that provide a service to you. So fuel providers, maintenance providers, insurance providers, owner operators. When you click the create button here at the top of the list, software is going to open up the fields that are required for creation. There we go. So here's our fields. Again, the internal name. Maybe I'm setting up a carrier partner here, and maybe it's called Active Trucking. I broker loads to Active Trucking. Again, I've got a legal name. Maybe Active Trucking is Active Trucking Inc. Maybe they factor their invoices. So you have a separate field on vendor records for remit names, allowing you to track factoring companies, for example. So maybe Active Trucking factors their invoices out to Grand Financial Company. You can track that, and you can also track a remit to address. Now over here in the vendor type, very important to categorize your vendors. While you have basic vendors like a maintenance provider, you send your trucks out to get maintenance services, you can receive bills in from your maintenance providers or insurance providers. You've got lots of different basic vendors to choose from. Nothing else shows up here. The minute, however, you set this vendor as a carrier, you get lots of fields to track. We all have to stay compliant with the ICC, DOT, and the NSC. So this will allow you to stay nice and compliant with your carriers. It's going to allow you to track their docket number, DOT number, SCAT codes, whether you've approved them as a carrier. You can give your carriers a rating if needed. You can show you have a contract on file for them. Here is the ability for you to track the details directly off their certificate of insurance. We all know that the ICC, DOT, and NSC make sure they task us with ensuring we're hiring reputable carriers. So you want to be able to track the details. They send you a carrier package with a certificate of insurance, their motor carrier authorities. You can track that information. So all you have to do is detail whatever their policy number is, the coverage for their liability. Maybe it's 2 million. Their cargo insurance. You simply fill all the details in, as well as those expiry dates, everyone, because the software will keep you safe, won't let you, just trying to choose something here, won't let you dispatch a load to a carrier that has expired or expiring insurance. Filling out the addresses, of course, so that you can send checks off to those vendors when you're ready to pay them. Once you create the record, again, I'm not going to create this one. I'll open up one of my vendors. Once you create the record, the software will populate the record on the screen for you, and again, allow you to add in your contacts, put in any notes you want to attach that carrier package. It's a great place to have your carrier packages instead of in a file drawer. It's right here. You can open it up and you can view that attachment at any time needed. Now, just like our customer records, our carrier records have rate histories as well, everyone. So this becomes a very valuable tool for you. Clicking on it will show me every load I've ever given 123 transport. So if I'm specifically looking at a specific lane that this carrier has done for me, I can filter it out by that lane using this filtering criteria and know what I've paid the carrier in the past for that lane. So a really great rate negotiation tool for you. I'm simply coming back to the customer record. When you have a valid motor carrier number, another great way to vet your carriers, everyone, is here under the More button. You can access this carrier's safety rating directly from the FMCSA website. I click the Safer Watch, and it goes out and it pings the FMCSA website, returning me the details of this actual carrier, the freight they're authorized to carry, the number of inspections they've had. All of the information is there for you. So you'll want to get some customer and vendor records created, and we have learning documents for that. I'm going to show you those in just a moment. Let's talk briefly about personnel records. Personnel records are simply every person that works for your company, whether they're a commission sales rep, a dispatcher, an order taker, an admin person, one of your accounts receivable people, company drivers, and owner operators. When you create these, you do have the ability to assign roles. So if this person happens to be a driver, switching this toggle now allows you to track those compliance details for this person. Once you've created the record again, it's, oh, sorry about that. Let me refresh that screen up for us. There we go. So once you've created this record, it will, of course, populate on the screen for you. And again, give you that automatic payables section where you can track. You can track cargo claims, accident reports, and incident reports on your drivers as well. Notes are there. Travel documents are there. Everything's there for you. Now, location records. Let's talk about location records for a minute. So while you have customer records, and that's who you move freight for, you pick up and deliver to various locations throughout. Location records are simply that. Every place you ever pick up at or deliver to. You can create some location records now, but in tomorrow's class, I will show you how to create location records on the fly. Let's have a look at a location record here. So it's simply, it's not a very good one. I want one with, let's try this one. Great. This one has some loading and receiving information. So while it's going to show you a related map, when you type in the address, it will show you that related map. It will allow you to track contacts. The most valuable thing about our location records is loading and receiving information. Every location is different. Some may require the driver to have his own personal protection equipment on, his safety vest and hard hat. Some locations require the driver to check in at the security gate. Some locations have loading or receiving windows. You can track that information here. Any of the information that is put in the loading, let me edit this up for you, and then you'll be able to see it. Any information in the loading or the receiving information will flow through the application, will print on trip manifests to company drivers and owner operators, and load confirmations to carrier partners. So it is the ability for you to detail everything your driver or carrier partner needs to do the job properly for you. Last record to talk to you about is equipment records. The ability to create, this is for asset-based trucking companies only, the ability for you to create every tractor in your fleet, every trailer, chassis, booster, dolly, every piece of equipment. Clicking again the create button in the top left-hand corner of the list will open up all the fields. So you can track chassis, containers, tractors, trailers. You can show whether this tractor is company owned, owner operator owned, or vendor owned. In the case of, like, lots of trucking companies are renting their trailing equipment these days. So you create a vendor record for the company you rent your equipment from, and then you can associate that specific trailer through to that vendor. Again, you can track all of the compliance details that are needed on equipment records as well. When you have an equipment record created, you can assign fuel cards to show which tractor has which fuel card. You can show any permits or stickers you may have had to purchase for that piece of equipment, and you will have the ability to show all sorts of services. We always want to know the services that we've done on our equipment, so those will be listed here. Okay, so that's our master. Oh, wait, I've got to go back to vendor records, everyone. One quick moment. Let's talk for a brief moment about owner operators. Owner operators are a bit of a different beast for you. And when you create an owner operator, here in the pull down is the ability to show that it's an owner operator for you. And when you do categorize it as an owner operator, you can show that this owner operator runs on the details coming directly off the certificate of insurance that we put in the company information in that configuration area. One of the first items we went over in this class. So all your owner operators typically run under your insurance and authorities. As well, you will be able to create the tractor for the owner operator. All owner operators bring a tractor to the table for you, and you can create the driver record as well. Owner operators require 3 different records: a vendor record, because that's who you pay; a tractor record, because they bring a tractor to the table for you; and a driver record, because you have to check compliance details on whoever it is that drives the tractor. Okay, so that's our master records for you, everyone. I'm going to take you out to our learning documents, and I'm going to get back to the main page, because right here under populating your database is every article you need: creating customers, vendors, owner operators. Everything's there for you, everyone. Okay, I think I've covered everything off, and give me just one moment here. I'm supposed to show my camera again. Terrific. Okay, that's the curriculum for today, everyone. I'm going to get you all unmuted so we can ask some questions. Now, in tomorrow's class, we're going to cover off orders here in operations. We're going to cover off orders, quotes, orders, how to dispatch those orders. So we'll do a complete learning here in operations tomorrow.